Hello and welcome back to another weekly What I Watched. So last week, as a few of you did notice, was a bit of a doozy. It wasn't the best of weeks, it has to be said, for movies. So let's get a look at what I've been watching this past week. Okay, so we've got the Letterboxd on, and on the first was a rewatch for me, which was the Babadook. Now, I watched this when it first came out and I wasn't a fan of it at all, but since then I've heard a lot of people say they really love it, and it's one of those things you think, right Lisa, you need to rewatch this, and I did. So the Babadook is a story about a little boy who is frightened of the dark, frightened of going to sleep at night, and he is telling his mum that there is a creature in the house called the Babadook. This mysterious book appears with the Babadook in it, and apparently when this movie was released there were a certain amount of these books made with extra pages in it for people to buy, which would have been awesome. I'd love one of those books. So this movie is about the mother, her son, and the Babadook. But what I didn't understand when I first watched this movie, I don't think this is a spoiler, I'm sure everyone has seen the Babadook, I'm not going to say what happens in the end or anything. This movie isn't about a monster in a house. This movie is about depression. The Babadook is like depression made flesh. What's the actual word? It's like there was another movie I watched which was again about a presence in a house, but it was actually dementia that it was covering, and the movie was such a strong, powerful movie. It really affected me, and I can't remember. I'll try and remember what that movie's called. I'll put it at the bottom. Please watch it, guys. It's incredible. This movie had a similar concept, but that Babadook wasn't an actual monster. It wasn't something that was really there. It was a visual representation of depression, of something that the family was struggling with due to their situation in life. So I completely got it this time. I didn't in the past. I give it a 4 out of 5 this time around. So glad to say that that was my comments that just flashed up that I'm trying to get through and answer. You probably know I'm ridiculously bad at that. So I take a day and I try and go through, record my video, reply to my comments, and today's that day, so that's why they're up on the screen. There's a little flash of my comments for you. So on the second, I sort of alluded to this last week with my facial expression. Okay, so the Pope's Exorcist. This is one that I had been wanting to see since it came out, and it's one that I put off watching right away and watched other movies instead that were coming out at the cinema. Let me just put up other people that have seen this to give you an idea. Oh, some people really enjoyed this and I'm quite surprised me. Bob and Kaffa, I'm not sure who that is. William M4 Movies. So Adam, what did you think? You haven't told us. So there's what we've got. I really enjoy possession movies. I think The Exorcism of Emily Rose is incredible. I love that movie. It's one of my favourites of that genre. Russell Crowe in this is fantastic. The cinematography is beautiful. The actual person that, and I've forgotten the guy's name, the actual priest that Russell Crowe is based on is a real person. He was a real exorcist. He does get very close to that character. I don't know what happened with this movie. It was really boring. It was really convoluted. It didn't pull me in. It didn't interest me. We had great cinematography, we had great acting performance from Russell Crowe, and it just didn't do it for me. Can I explain to you why that is? No, I can't. It's just, it was really dull and it had such promise, it had such potential, and it's really sad that it didn't deliver. So 2.5 out of 5 for me. Okay, so the next one is called The Invisible Guest. This is a Spanish movie. This was recommended to me by Sin from Sin's Corner. There is also a, what did she, I'm not sure if she said it was an Indian movie also based on this one. So sort of like, you know, when you get like usually an Asian movie like Japanese or Korean, then we'll get an American remake. Well, this Spanish movie has, I think, an Indian remake. I'm not positive. I think that's what Sin said. So this one, Contratiempo. A young businessman wakes up in a hotel room locked from the inside along with his lover, who was murdered while he was unconscious. He hires a prestigious lawyer, and over the course of one evening they must work together to build a defence case for him before he is taken to jail. There is an awful lot more to this movie than this. We see what leads up to that room, what happens someone else dies at the beginning of this movie. Is this person, this man, culpable for that death? Is he culpable then for his lover's death? There's a lot of sides to this. It is quite confusing. It all ties up really nicely at the end, but what is happening as we go through is we are shown at different times different versions of events from different people's point of view, and you as a viewer aren't quite sure what one is the correct one, so you're trying to, like, as you go on, you're trying to work out who did what, who's telling the truth, who's lying. It's very back and forth. Because I didn't understand that that's what they were going to do, I was watching it thinking, what? Why are we changing this again? Why are we saying this? What? And it was like, became really complicated. But then I understood what we were doing. We were showing different aspects. No, actually, that may have happened, but this also may have happened. Here's the different ideas. You decide. I did get, there's kind of a big twist in this movie, and I did get what that twist was as we were in the latter quarter of the movie. Quite satisfying when you're right and you see the twist. It doesn't make it any less impressive. It was nice to see where we were going, and it was very satisfying as a twist. So 3.5 out of 5. I really did enjoy this. It is quite it does show you the same sort of stuff multiple times and different sides of that. You sort of like are very back and forth with, but this couldn't happen because this, and that couldn't happen because this. But it does tie together at the end quite nicely, so I think most people would enjoy that one. So that's 3.5 out of 5 for The Invisible Guest. I have left that very vague, folks, because it's like a mystery movie, and it is worth watching. So I do recommend. Thank you, Sin, for your recommendation. So on the 4th, I watched 2 movies. We went to the cinema to see Guardians, which I have done Come With Me. I won't talk any more about it other than to say we all really enjoyed it. My son preferred it to Endgame and Infinity War. I wouldn't go that far, but I did really enjoy it. It's a really nice fitting close to the trilogy. I'm really happy to read in comments I've been replying to today. People say that it's the end of the trilogy, that's it. And I was really concerned that they would keep going and ruin it, and they aren't, and I'm really pleased to see that. So big thumbs up. If you are a Guardians or a superheroes fan, definitely go check that out. If you're going to take young children, be aware that there are scenes that are quite upsetting in there. It's like all animated animals, but there are upsetting scenes in there. So younger animals, well, some children are animals. We've just spent the day with Isaac's mate, so I can vouch for that for you. Younger children, just err on caution. So on that same day, I watched a movie called A Good Person. Now, all I saw was Morgan Freeman and I've forgotten her name, Florence Pugh. If I see Morgan Freeman and Florence Pugh, I'm watching it. So sometimes we find hope where we least expect it. So Alison's Florence Pugh, life falls apart following her involvement in a fatal accident. The unlikely relationship she forms with her would-be father-in-law helps her live a life worth living. This is a fantastic movie. This is so well acted. Alison, Florence Pugh's character, is driving a car that gets into an accident. Unfortunately, people in that car do not make it. She does, and she goes on to struggle from opioid addiction. I have talked about it before. It's something, I've never been addicted to opioids. I have taken opioids for my fibromyalgia. I can vouch for how difficult they are to actually come off. It's a very long process. I was just in a really bad place for about 6 months with migraines, walking about like I was drunk, dizzy, couldn't string a sentence together. You'll say, are you still on opioids lately? But I was worse than usual. I just felt like I had a permanent banger of a hangover, really bad. It was shocking. And it was only sort of reading research groups that sort of told me, you'll get there, you'll be back to normal 6 months time, you know, stick with it. And if I hadn't seen that from other people, it would have been so much easier for me to take the painkillers again. They were prescribed for a reason, because I have fibromyalgia, I struggle with pain, but I'd rather deal with the pain than deal with opioids. It was a tough time. And this covers her trying to come off these opioids after her car accident. She is really struggling. It's changed everything about her life, her as a person, where she is in life. She's lost her partner, they've split up. And this man, Morgan Freeman's character, is actually the father of her ex-partner that she was with. She never liked him, he never liked her, but they both end up in the same AA meeting. And a kind of a friendship of sorts starts, a reluctant friendship. But it's a really good movie. I would really recommend watching it, guys. A Good Person. Obviously, it's a drama piece, so don't expect fast moving. If you're into action and all that kind of thing, it won't be for you. But if you want to watch a really good piece of acting, a really heartfelt performance from both, then I would recommend. Okay, The Den. Right, what I should have clicked on this is I've seen this before, but I haven't. Okay. Someone was talking about this recently online, and if you know me at all well, you will know that one of the main reasons I keep a Letterboxd is so that I know if I've seen a movie before I start to watch it again, because that's how good my memory is. So The Den, someone was speaking about, I couldn't remember. They were saying it's a really good found footage movie. I adore found footage, it's one of my favourite things. So I started watching this and it was very clear within 10 minutes. I've seen this before, but I'd forgotten what happened, so I watched it again. So this woman, the synopsis probably will say it better than me. A young woman studies the habits of webcam chat users from the apparent safety of her apartment. She witnesses a brutal murder online and is quickly immersed in a nightmare in which she and her loved ones are targeted for the same grisly fate as the first victim. So she gets a grant from her workplace to study. It's called The Den, but I know there is an actual place where a person flashes up in front of you on camera and you can chat to them, or you can skip them and talk to the next person. I can't get why people do that. It fills me with anxiety, the thought of speaking to people you don't know. Then you get blokes on waving their bits about and all that sort of stuff. So there's quite a lot of that in it. Blokes' bits waving about. So she witnesses something, she's not quite sure if it's real or not. Then she witnesses another act which is very clearly set up, which puts doubt in her mind that maybe that first thing that I saw wasn't real. But then it becomes very evident due to some sort of things she starts experiencing in her life that what she saw was real. It leads her down the rabbit hole of trying to find out how their fate ended how it did, who did it, trying to get the police involved who aren't interested. And then she becomes embroiled herself in this whole nightmare, and it's affecting her and her loved ones personally. Really enjoyed it. 3.5 out of 5. Perhaps for me personally, I'd maybe even say it's a 4 out of 5 because it's my kind of movie. I really enjoyed it. I liked where we went with it. I liked where we ended up. I like things that are quite snappy and sort of hit you with it, or quite brutal and just end, and it's like you're left with, oh my god, that's shocking, and then that's it. There's no more explanation, there's no more, and this is what happened at the end, tied up with a bow. I don't like that. It's why I wanted to see Scream 6 end with the two sisters sat on that stage at the end. That's where I wanted the ending. I think the final scenes with ambulance and stuff just really diluted it, the moment for me. So yeah, The Den. If you like found footage, check it out, guys. It is a 2013 movie and it's one I really enjoyed. Finally, guys, Grave Encounters. I have also seen this before. I was in a found footage mood. As I've said before, I couldn't remember. I know I've seen it. All I remembered was there's a bath in it. That's my knowledge. So Grave Encounters is very clearly a rip-off of Ghost Adventures with Zach Bagans. When I first saw this movie, I hadn't seen Ghost Adventures, but watching it now, after having watched Ghost Adventures, he's clearly sending up Zach Bagans. His dress, his hair, how he speaks, words he uses, and they are a paranormal crew that are locked into, I believe, an asylum, psychiatric hospital, and just weird stuff starts happening. And it's a bit more than just them seeing some stuff. It's just how the actual building itself has a way of changing. It's really interesting. The one thing I would change about this movie, I really enjoyed it, I thought it was fantastic, is there is an effect that was used for a period of time. It became quite popular, where you see something scary and its face elongates, it opens its mouth and its mouth gets really big and long. And that appeared in a lot of movies, and I don't like the sort of like CGI effect of it. I just would prefer, the face was enough, we didn't need it to stretch and get all long. It just looks a bit silly. But yeah, Grave Encounters, really enjoy it, folks. So if you haven't seen it and you like found footage, and I doubt anybody hasn't seen Grave Encounters if they like the genre, and you can see that one there is one I watched this week, which I will talk about next week. I've scored it, One Cut of the Dead, I've scored it way below everyone else because it did not work for me at all. I'll talk about it next week. So let me just pop this one off. So yeah, that's what I've been watching this week, folks. I've also been, as always, watching Ted Lasso. I have also now started watching season 2 of Yellow Jackets, which I'm really enjoying. It's a series, we've already had one season. It's about a football team of girls that have been, there's been a plane accident, a plane crash. They've been marooned on this island, which is like perishingly cold. I'm not exactly sure where it is, but it's freezing, it's snowing all the time. There's a tiny little log cabin, and things are going from bad to worse, and strange shit's starting to happen on this, wherever they've been marooned. I don't think they know where they are themselves, and no one else very clearly knows where they are. So we're on season 2. I think it's been about 5 episodes released, and I'm really enjoying it. It's a really good show. Other than that, I can't think of anything else really I've been watching apart from just the usual ghosty wosty stuff, as is my wont. So thanks for watching this week, guys. A few decent ones, thankfully, this week. Not as bad as last week, guys. So thank you, as always, for watching and for your lovely comments. I will get to you all eventually, I promise. It just, sometimes life gets in the way. It takes me a little while to have the time to reply. So thanks so much, folks, for watching. I'm hoping to get you another list out this week from my filmography book, and a massive apologies. I've been told by a couple of people, thank you Alan and Shan, that a couple of my clips were missing from the last, I did one about my top 10 movie quotes. So apologies, I'm not going to go back and do the video again, folks. Most of the quotes I've chosen will be ones that you know or you remember, so you probably won't need to see, but massive apologies that they aren't in there, folks. I have no idea how this has happened. I can't see Facebook just lifting out the clips, so I've obviously messed up somewhere along the line. But hopefully this week's, I can tell you what the list is because I've got it here. This week's list is going to be stars you would like to date. I haven't gone with actors, I've gone with characters rather than actors. So you can probably fill out half that list already, guys. So thanks so much for watching, and I shall catch up with you next time. Over and out from Lisa Lives.